This is the Non-Typical Nation podcast with your hosts, Brody Teal and Eric Labrie.
Let's talk hunting and absolutely everything else that goes with it.
What is going on, everybody? This is Brody, and I'm here with my good buddy, Eric, and we're back for another podcast. It has been a busy week. We are creeping up on Christmas here. You guys aren't going to hear this till after Christmas. But we're gonna have some fun today. We put up a post on the Non-Typical Nation Facebook page, and it asked if you could change one hunting law, which would it be? And oh boy, did we open up a can of worms. There was some great comments in there, some surprising ones. Some that people are just super frustrated with.
I'm just reading it now, and some of them are just making me shake my head, and some of them are pretty intriguing.
Yeah, it's awesome. So There's
a few good ones here.
I think it's every Tuesday or Friday, one or the other. It's 2 days a week. We have a post on Non-Typical Nation that is basically asking our followers a question or asking them to do something or share a photo or whatever, right? And so, this week's was if you could change one hunting law, which would it be? And oh man, this thing absolutely exploded.
Can I start with my first one?
Give her. What's your favorite one?
Okay,
this is your favorite?
This is my favorite one.
Okay,
so far, I haven't read through them all yet, but this one definitely piqued my interest. So this guy says...
We won't mention names.
No. I won't mention any names. So this guy says, must have common sense before buying a license. If not, they get a good ass kicking first to show what will happen if they don't respect the wildlife or their landowners.
That's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's some country thinking right there. That guy, he comes from the school of hard knocks. He knows
who are they going to hire
things.
to do the ass kicking though?
Not me.
I'll volunteer. You don't even have to pay me.
Yeah, that's good. Well, you know what, and that's, it's a big problem. But it's not just one type of person that's really breaking the rules. I think you see, people who are new to hunting, people who've been hunting a long time, who know how to, bend things a little bit. An ass kicking might fix that up. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the person.
Yeah, I guess so.
Some people don't get any smarter.
No, some guys like that. Yeah, ass kicking.
That's right.
Keeps them coming back. So what else do we have there?
Okay, let's go to maybe a more serious one.
There were a few in there that I'm all for, and I think what we should try and do is get a fish and wildlife officer in here and maybe go through.
Yeah, and get their opinion. That'd be a good perspective.
And get their opinion. So that might be something we're going to do here in the future. So keep an eye on that, guys.
So here's a good one. So in Alberta, I'll do a little background on this one. I shouldn't have to remember that 8 words. In Alberta, in certain zones, usually where there's plenty of access to public land, you cannot operate in certain zones an ATV until 12 o'clock noon and after. So this is one of the comments on this post is change the law so that you can operate an ATV before noon. So what do you think about that?
Yes. And around here, like where we do most of our deer hunting, you can't operate an ATV before noon, right?
You cannot, yeah. Except, so there is exceptions to this rule.
But I don't know about what you're going to say.
You don't know?
Because I looked at it in the regs. Go ahead.
I'll enlighten you. So you can operate an ATV to get to your hunting destination.
Yes.
Whether it be a stand or a place you're going to walk to, whatever.
Okay.
But your weapon must be completely unfireable, unable to get to. So in other words, it has to be encased and locked.
Okay.
And not, slung over your back with the clip in it or something like that.
Yes.
And this might be zone specific too, but the other thing is spring bear season, you can operate an ATV before noon.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much everywhere that has that law. I'm pretty sure spring bear season.
Yeah, I'm not sure. For sure, this zone right here, it is.
So you can't drive around on your quad on a trail with the gun out and shoot chickens or deer or whatever else before noon. But you can in a truck, or can you in a truck?
You can in a truck. Yeah.
You can in a truck.
You can in a truck.
Okay. Interesting. And it says off-highway vehicle.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
I did look into
OHV
this.
now.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
but,
what it is.
yeah.
Interesting. And how do you feel about that? Do you think that's so? I guess
No, I think I really like that law.
You
I
like
honestly
that?
do, because I'm not I'll get off my ass and walk, or I'll go, like, I know a lot of places I can go in the truck and then get on foot.
And I'd like to ask someone with more knowledge than me about this, but what's the reasoning for that? Is that just highly populated areas?
I would,
Or what is it? Like, why?
I don't know if anybody ever told me this, or if it's just something I've sort of thought over the years, but it has to have something to do with the high concentration of hunters and the access, right? So you don't want, like, I've been in the areas every time at noon, if you're like driving back home or whatever, every time at noon, there's a million guys going out in their ATVs.
Yep.
You see like 6 ATVs in a 5-minute drive from town to wherever.
Yeah.
And so if you can drive at 7 a.m, you're going to your stand to sit, and there's a guy driving ATV through your stand.
But now, do you think that sort of promotes more road hunting?
Well, the guys that road hunt are going to road hunt.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Like
So you don't think the guys that quad hunt are going to road hunt?
What's the difference?
Yeah, I guess there's not much difference.
It's just glorified road hunting.
Yeah, and hey, even road hunting, do you want to get into that? There's nothing wrong with that, I don't think.
I think that is a very effective. We've argued about this maybe before.
We never argued.
Well, maybe not argued, but we've definitely talked about this before.
That's why I opened this up with I don't mind road hunting.
Yeah, well, it's definitely the most efficient, or one. I shouldn't say the most, but it's definitely one of the most efficient ways to just kill a whitetail deer.
Yeah,
Any
for
deer,
sure.
Any deer.
And I say I don't mind it, and I really don't. I've got nothing against it.
As long as you're doing it legally.
Yeah, now mind you,
safely.
this hunting season, I spent probably 25 days in the field and 1 day driving around with the kids and Amy. And that's when we're going to utilize that method of hunting.
And what day was that?
And that was the last day of the season when I shot a deer.
Yep.
And so I spent right around 160 and 180 hours in the deer stand. And I did not get a deer. I held on to the bow for a long time and it just didn't happen. But yeah, we spent 1 day, 3 hours into our actual hunt with the kids back on some trails that we could get the truck down. We managed to get a buck. So very effective. Now, when you're filming a television show, I've seen it done before. Like, there's some big names in hunting in Saskatchewan. Great people, really good guys. And what they do is they drive around, with a spotting scope, drive around all day long, spot a deer, then get out, put a stock on it or whatever. And that's basically the same thing we're doing. So yeah, I've got nothing against it. These guys that say, no, road hunting's for lazy people, this and that. It's just good that we got hunters out there, whether they can hike or not. I think we need the numbers. We need to be strong. We can't be bashing other methods of hunting.
Yeah, and as long as you're doing it safely, you're not shooting across the road or up the road or at other people, and you're not driving around with a loaded gun, I'm all for it.
Yeah, you got to be careful too, right? Because if you're like some of the roads around town or the trails, they do get pretty busy. And, you just got to hope guys are following those rules and doing it ethical. But I have no issues with that method of hunting. None at all.
Me neither.
And you know what? Like,
that's how I grew up hunting when I was a little kid. That's all we did. That's the only way we hunted.
And you know what? That's the way 95% of the people do it.
Well, especially around here. It's just typical, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it's effective, right? It's efficient.
Yes.
Like Ryan, his dad, goes out 2 days a year and shoots two deer a year.
I know.
Year.
Well, and we were talking about that too, even at the shop here. Like, we've got a ton of deer and a lot of big ones. And, majority of the people, you ask them how they got it, and they're like, man, I've just spent 4 or 5 days cruising trails, checking cut lines, and you're covering a lot of ground and you're going to see game.
Yeah, because the bucks are doing the same thing come November. They're just covering ground. And eventually you're going to cross paths.
But like I said, if you're filming a television show, you need a bit of a storyline. And so what we try and do is we try and find areas, find a deer in that area, target that deer or similar, it's good to have a history with the animal you're chasing. It's always super exciting. And
that's the fun part. That's the fun part.
That's the fun part. And that's why I've spent, like I said, 99% of my days in the stand or hiking or whatever and not road hunting, because when you spend 5-6 days hiking, chasing elk, and you have that opportunity and you get one, and even if you don't get one, it means so much more than if, at least to me, than if you're driving around and there's a deer, you get it and you're done. And so, yeah, you know what? I'm all for road hunting, but I love my tree stand, my blind hunting. And my favorite is chasing elk when they're bugling and, September, it's not freezing cold. The weather's decent. And, that's got to be my favorite for sure.
Yeah, that's the best time of year.
Yeah.
Better than Christmas.
Yeah, without a doubt. We'll have to do a good 5, 6, 7 day elk hunt next year.
Okay,
so what else do we got here?
Let's get back to this post here.
So, no quadding before noon. You think that should stay?
I think that's a good one as long as the zone has a fair bit. Like if it's got lots of access, like this zone south of town here, it's crazy amount of access.
Yes. And I should mention too, I've got tree stands and blinds. It's where I hunt deer and moose and stuff. And I get in that blind nice and early. And I can hear, you can hear quite a ways away in dead silent forest. And as soon as noon, 1 o'clock comes around, then the quads start coming and the side by side. So, if you can get off that trail a little bit, get up in a tree stand, nestle, like get comfortable in a blind, you might have good luck in some of those zones where it's not going to be pressured too hard until the afternoon. So, I'm all for it too. Do you think they should apply that to more zones? Would you go that far?
Well, the ones around here are pretty good the way they are.
Well, no, but north, that's south, right? Like where we bear hunt and moose hunt even.
Yeah,
right?
But a lot of those areas, once you get further north than here, a lot of them are almost inaccessible by pickup that time of year, right? So then you get into sort of a funny area where it's like, well, now we can't do anything, right? You can't even really walk some of those places just the way they are, right? Could you imagine having to hike from the highway to your bear stand?
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Like, right?
Oh, we do it, right?
Well, if you had to, but
and yes, like where these laws are that you can't hunt before noon, at least around here, there is a ton.
I think they're pretty
access.
legitimate here, yeah.
And we get a lot of people from, the bigger cities and stuff coming up here, and it gets crazy.
Busy. Yeah, there's 5 or 6 camps every year going up that one road, and it's just crazy.
I talked to a guy on the phone here, a client, a couple weeks ago, and they come up every year to do spring bear hunting. They always get bears up in the hills there, and they came back in the fall. And he said they had to leave after 2 days. They seen like 30 trucks a day and people everywhere, camps everywhere. And he said it just got to be too much.
Well, you know what's funny about that particular spot? I mean, only me and you kind of know what we're talking about.
Yes.
That's probably one of the busiest spots just for daily work.
Traffic. Well, that's the issue with around here, right? It's all oil leased roads. And that's the thing. When you're hunting too, you're going to run into 5-10 guys. We're spending all day out there that are working too. So you got to take that into account. And hey, that might even be part of the reason why they have that law.
Yeah, it could be.
No, I don't know. Like I said, it'd be good to get someone in here who knew a little bit more. And hey, if you're listening to this and you know the reason why, or you know the answer to any of our questions, send us a message. We would love to get some input on this.
Yeah, give you a shout out too if you want.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so the next one is, this person is talking about Sask, but I think we can apply it to sort of anywhere.
Good old Sask.
So here in Alberta, you can buy, at least up here in northern Alberta, you can buy 2 supplemental doe tags and a buck tag for whitetail deer. This guy says you must harvest a doe before you are issued a buck tag.
harvest a doe before you issue a buck tag.
Yeah.
So that is completely opposite from what another guy said. Another guy said no doe tags.
Yeah, I did see that one up there too. Yeah, that might have been there a couple times.
So
actually.
harvest a doe before a buck tag. Does he give a reasoning for that?
Nope.
He doesn't.
Not right in the direct comment.
Harvest a doe. So I could see that, like around here, where we are, they give out 2 doe tags and 1 buck tag for most of the zones around here. And so the reason for that is because apparently there's a high population of white-tailed deer and they want to control those numbers.
Which I would probably agree with.
Yes. And there is thousands of square kilometers of land.
And
A lot of country.
in a lot of those zones, you can only use 1 tag up here.
That's right.
You cannot use both.
Yes.
There's only a few, very few, I think maybe 7 or 8 zones in all of Alberta you can use both tags.
Yes. So that's 2 doe tags. You can use a buck
tags.
tag
You can
and
still
a doe
use a
tag.
buck tag anywhere a general buck is open. Yeah.
Yes. So, so I guess what I'm getting at here is extremely high populated areas that would maybe make sense where you got to take down a doe before you take down a buck. But I don't know if I totally agree with that one because I could see that being implemented if you have a breakout of like CWD
I was just gonna say
or
disease,
something
maybe,
like
if there's
that.
an actual serious control problem.
Yes.
But yeah, right now the population seems to be healthy abundance.
yeah.
Right? It hasn't. I mean, some days you don't see any deer. Some days you see 20 deer. Right?
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. Like I was talking to another guy around here, there's a lot of access, but even once you get past that access, there's hundreds of kilometers,
Of in
thousands
excess, yeah,
of square
yeah.
kilometers of just bush.
Yeah.
And so not many guys are going back there. So they're trying to control the population as much as they can around here just to somewhat balance everything out. Because you're never gonna not many guys are going that far back.
Well, you can't really
You can unless you're
oil
bushwhacking and
exploration
hiking
and
back
stuff,
there
yeah,
and
there's-
stuff. And even you know and me know a lot of the deer sites and moose sites that we have around here. We've had them for several years and we've never had a person in them just because there's so much country.
Yep.
And
Some of them are tucked right away, right close to a lot of places.
Yeah, I've got some animals not far. I've said enough, but not far from
not far,
this studio here. But anyways, yeah, you know what? I'd like to get some more info on that. Even if that guy is listening, send us a message. I'm curious when you would implement that.
Maybe elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah.
But I do
is
agree
interesting.
with maybe something like a buck before a doe, the other way around.
A buck before a doe, yeah.
Because, just if you need the meat, you're going to go and shoot a doe after you shoot your buck, right? But if you're just going to shoot a buck, then you're going to go shoot a buck.
But a buck before the doe, then you've got a lot of guys holding out for big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to offer a doe tag, you might not fill as many of those doe tags because a lot of guys are holding out for their buck.
Well, that's what I mean. Like if sort of the situation was
Yes.
flipped.
And
I'm
so,
not saying right now. I like it completely. I like it how it is right now.
yeah.
right
Well,
here. It's great.
when I moved to Alberta 8 years ago or whatever it was, I bought a buck tag and then I seen I could get supplemental tags. So I got the supplemental tags and I was under the impression that I had to get a buck first before I could fill those supplemental tags. And I've had people who've hunted for some time but aren't insane about it like you and me. They've told me straight to my face that no, you have to fill that buck tag before you can stick your doe tag on that doe. But I've checked with Fish and Wildlife. They're like, no, it does not matter which one you use. We give out 2 supplemental tags because we need to control those populations. So, even the buck before the doe, I say if they're going to offer their tag, it should be either or any time, like whether you get the doe first or the buck first or whatever.
Yeah, I guess it just adds some more challenge to it all. Like, really, what are you getting out of it besides making? Well, like we said, if there was a population issue, then it would be better, I think, because just like anything else, you don't want to kill the female, right? You want to try and
Yes.
maintain the breeding population. So if the population was low and they were still offering a doe tag, then a program like that might be a good implementation.
Yes.
But right now, here, it's good the way it is.
Yeah.
3 deer.
Yeah, I'm fine with
give
the way
her.
it is. Yeah.
And, honestly, you can shoot 3 does if you want.
Yes, you can, because your general tag is in either sex, and then you have your 2 supplementals as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last few years, 4 years ago, I made like that biggest rookie mistake that a lot of guys have made, where you see that deer in the bush and you think it's a doe and you shoot it and it's a spiker.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had a general tag, so that went on that one. But since then, I've held out on does until I've got a buck, just because, if you need the meat, we'll do it. And actually, 2 years ago, I did get a doe before the buck. But the last couple of years, I've sort of held out on the does. And my areas where we do have some nice deer, I like to keep the does around, because come rut, if the does aren't there, the bucks aren't going to be there.
No, for sure. And yeah, if you got a target deer, you don't want to be messing around with the does.
Yes,
No,
but we're getting into the weeds here. So now we aren't even talking about the question. Let's get on the next one. What else do we got here?
Okay. Let's find another one here.
Yeah, there were some good ones on there. I liked it. And that's what I like about doing these posts twice a week. There's been some really good ones, asking people, what's their dream hunt? What is your favorite harvest? And, there's some real cool comments in some of those. So I enjoy doing these things. But yeah, this one has definitely been one of the most interesting. And I'd like to get a CEO on here, like I said, to chat about some of these.
So here's another one that is a little bit interesting. Open the grizzly season in Alberta.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And you know what? A lot of people who regulate these laws, and even the biologists, from what I understood, the people that I talked to, Fish and Wildlife officers and whatnot, most of them are for it too. They know that grizzly bear population is increasing this year. At one point of the black bear season, we've seen more grizzly bears than we did black bears, and we've never seen any before.
We've never seen any before, and now both me and you have seen them this year.
Yes.
Yeah. I finally saw one the end of November, but I did see one this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing with these animals, man, these grizzly bears, they haven't been hunted since, don't quote me on this, I shouldn't know before I say, but I think it was 2005 or 4 or 6 or 7.
12 or 13 years.
Yes. So it's been some time since they've been hunted.
Yeah.
So these mature boars now have never been hunted before. They've had nothing trying to kill them. Okay, so there's nothing bigger than them. There's no humans. Nothing's killing them. They are protected species. So when you see a grizzly bear now, he just sees he doesn't see, hey, that's a human, he's going to shoot me. No, they either going to come towards you, or they're just going to continue doing what they're doing, and they aren't worried about you. And the first run-in we had, like I said, we hadn't seen any grizzly bears at this point. We seen a big blonde ass going over a ridge. So all we seen was the ass. I was filming. Amy had her gun. I said, hey, let's get to that ridge. He's over. Let's let him go over. Let's get to that ridge. We'll be able to see him nicely. We can get a shot off. We boogie up to that ridge, get up there, get the camera on. He turns, and there's that hump. And he sees us. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step towards us. Fucking Amy's gone already. And so I should mention, she's got no boots on. I made her take her boots off because they were too loud. She throws her boots. And I'm like, well, fuck. She threw her boots. So I grab her boots. I'm holding the camera, and I run to the truck, which is 300 yards away. And we get up in the truck, and I tried standing up there, seeing where this bear was, but he must have heard us just boogieing. So he sort of just wandered off. But yeah, man, he made like 4 or 5 steps towards us. He gave no shit about us. He wanted to see what we were, if we're a meal, how, what's going on.
He's just curious. He's like, oh, that's movement.
And that was a big bear. And that was, yeah. You know what? I kicked myself. I was sort of wishing I would have left my camera on the trail pointing at him while we left.
I remember you telling me about this.
I was really upset about that for a few days. And you know what? Like, if I had a gun and I had the camera, I probably would have hung out. But if he kept coming, hey, you ain't going to risk that. That bear can run faster than you can. But yeah, so we he left. We tried to go to where he was, and he was gone. He was long gone. So we carried on. 2 days later, and we're in the same area, and we're turned the corner on a trail, and there's 2 bears. And right away we're like, yeah, these are grizzlies. They're big, they're blonde, they've got black guard hairs, blonde guard hairs too. Really nice looking animals. One, I was re-looking at the footage the other day for the episode we're putting together, and one looked to be a sow with probably a 1.5-year-old cub. Like, it wasn't a new cub. It was a decent size. He was almost, or the smaller one was almost as big as
This
the
is
sow.
springtime too, right?
This is springtime, yeah. So this is late April, I believe, or early May. I think it was late April. But yeah, they seen us, and they were pulling trees down to eat the buds off of them. So they would climb up. So they stood about 8 feet tall. They'd stand on their hind legs, pull a branch of willows or bushes, and pull it all the way down, and then pick off the buds on the ground.
Wow.
And yeah, we sat there for probably 15 minutes watching them, and they sort of wandered back and forth, came towards us, turn around, and they have no fear at all. They are not worried about anyone. So that, now there's a risk when we go out, like we want to do a spot and stalk bear hunt out there. We're going to be looking over our shoulders a few more times knowing there's grizzly bears around, because black bears, they see you, they're usually going to run off. Not always. I know they aren't always going to do that, but usually they're going to flee. Where grizzly bears, you don't know what they're going to do because nothing's tried to kill them.
Well, the thing with grizzlies is, like, I've had 100 or hundreds of run-ins with black bears, right?
Okay.
Over the years. And when they look at you, they're kind of like, you can see a wander in their eye, like, what should I do? But the few run-ins I've had with grizzlies when I'm face-to-face, they just look through you like, yeah, is it worth my time and energy? Not like, is it safe to do so?
Yes.
And they'll just run you over and not even think twice.
Yeah, and so we don't go too much in the weeds in this too. If they opened up a grizzly season, there's going to be some big bears shot. Big bears.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the world record, or the Canadian record anyway.
World record.
Is it the world record?
It's the world record. Yeah,
it
go
was
on.
shot just a couple miles from here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was honestly, from where I deer hunt, it was, within right around there.
Yep.
And I could not believe it. I read an article on it online, and yeah, a native lady shot it. I think it was in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, it's
with
old.
a 22.
Yep.
This giant grizzly bear.
22.
Yes, unloaded.
Yep.
And I guess so. I read into the article, and I guess she traded or sold off the rifles, sold off the bear, and everything else. Obviously, it's got some value because it's a world record, and that gun is pretty monumental as well. So she ended up selling everything that she had and lived off that for a little while. But just right around here, right around Slave Lake, the world record grizzly, that's something else, man. That's crazy. And I did notice in the hunting rigs, the Alberta record, you would think that would be the Alberta record, but that wasn't the Alberta record because it was a native harvest. In order for it to be an Alberta record, it has to be a tagged animal.
A licensed animal, yeah.
So if you look in the hunting rigs, I've got them somewhere around here. It's Slave Lake, Alberta too. Another guy shot it in, have you seen this?
A grizzly?
I can't find it. Yeah, if you look in the hunting regulations, the Alberta record grizzly bear was shot right around Slave Lake as well.
Yeah, I do think, yeah.
Or it might have even said Swan Hills.
Yes,
I think it was Slave Lake.
Yeah.
It's Swan Hills?
somewhere right.
Yeah, so anyways, right around here. So yeah, we're in prime grizzly bear country.
But I mean, where that lady shot that bear, that's the edge of the Swan Hills anyway. It's that whole area.
Yeah. And I actually spoke with a fella who did the aerial survey when they were counting the bears before they shut it down. And the Swan Hills region had the highest density of grizzly bears. Now that doesn't mean they were overpopulated, but it meant from other areas of the province, that area had the highest density. And it was a healthy population. But there was politics involved and it all got shut down. And I was speaking with a Fish and Wildlife officer, and he said the only thing holding this back is politics.
I believe it.
Yes. And that's what shut down the BC one, right? Like BC's got grizzly bears everywhere.
That's a whole nother.
They've got grizzly bears everywhere. So I think everyone knows that it's time now to open up this grizzly bear season. Even if you do a lottery tag, give out 10 tags a zone or whatever it can sustain. But I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't open up, just because the backlash that the hunting industry, the Alberta government, and a lot of people are going to get from it. So,
yeah, especially after the BC side closing just 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
So we'll have to wait and see. It would be super cool if we could hunt grizzly bears, and it is important to control predators because, like I said, nothing's been killing these things. So
that's right.
You gotta keep the populations in check, and the moose numbers aren't the greatest. So I think it would help to control them for sure. Yeah. So hey, I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm all for it. Whether I think it's going to happen or not, I don't know.
So do you think it's coincidence that in the last year we've seen 7 grizzlies? How many did you see? 5?
This year we've seen 4, and I've got 4 or 5 different ones on cameras as well.
Okay.
And that's in the last 2 years.
So how many different bears?
Oh, they're all different bears.
So 8 bears.
8 bears.
Plus the one I saw, which is a total different area than you.
Yeah. They're all. I'm gonna say they're all different bears.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would guess. And so in the last year, we've seen 9 bears, and 6 years prior, I've never seen one. So do you think that's coincidence, or do you think the population has just finally reached us again and it's exploding?
I just think the population now is at the point where it's exploding. I don't know if wildfires affect the population numbers at all, because it's been a while since there's Slave Lake had the huge wildfire in 2011, 12. And so that is now 7 or 8 years.
Yep.
So if you did have but like I said, I don't know if wildfire will affect population numbers at all.
Well, it definitely moves wildlife around.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whether it moved some or it lowered the population a little bit, that might be why we see a spike now 7, 8 years later. I don't know. But I know there's more grizzly bears. It's not just a coincidence that we've seen that many grizzly bears in a year or two, and then 5, 6 years ago we never seen any.
I've never even seen a track anywhere. That's the other thing, right?
Well, and the tracks, I've seen a ton of tracks. It's it's unreal.
Yeah.
And so you gotta be a little more careful, man, in grizzly country, because they ain't scared of nothing.
It's grizzly country here again. No.
Yeah, it's exciting though. It's cool. I love seeing different wildlife.
So should we try one more?
No, let's keep her rolling. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I can. One guy says deer hunting at night. I don't know about that one.
So he thinks
you should be able
legal.
to hunt deer at night. Yeah.
No, that's not safe at all.
Definitely not.
Not only is it not safe, you
have no way of identifying which. It's just not safe.
That
not a good
make
idea.
Sense.
There's one guy here. He says 4 point or better for mule deer. So Alberta doesn't have a point regulation for mule deer. They do for elk. We do for elk, but I don't know about mule deer.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I may be wrong. There may be some zones down south or something that do, but I'm pretty sure they don't. I'm almost 100% sure they don't. So 4 point or better, right? So that's you got your forks.
Double forks.
You got your forks, and you have your main beam point, and even a little brow tine. There's your 4.
Yeah, I guess it's only got to be an inch to make it 4.
Yeah. I don't know. The way I look at it, like we spoke on, I think the first podcast, we put a lot of faith in these biologists. They know how many tags they're giving out. They sort of have an idea of what's going to be harvested.
They know better than us, for sure.
But hey, you know what? I think, if more people are harvesting mature animals, that is great. And you want less people shooting those 1.5-year-old bucks, even 2.5-year-old bucks. If you can get into that 3-year-old range, awesome, do her. That way, you've got these animals breeding at least 1 year. And so I'm for it. I'm for it because I think if the population wasn't great and there wasn't a lot of mule deer in a zone, they just wouldn't give out tags. So they're going to give out tags for zones that can sustain a hunt with healthy populations. And if there's healthy populations, then there's mature deer. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, what about whitetails? Would you do, say, even 3 or 4 point for whitetails?
Well, right now, the way the licenses lie, you can, as long as you have a general tag, you can shoot any deer. So how would you? You'd have to make your buck. You'd have to make it a buck only tag, right? To make it 3 points.
Okay. Yeah. You could do a 3 point and up or doe, but no spiker. And even
but
that,
no spiker. That's
no. I'm all for that. I think there should be, because I don't think we should be removing a bunch of 1.5 year old deer. Nope. I would be for a 4 point and up mule deer, even 3 point. You know, if you
for
got
whitetail,
3,
you mean whitetail or
both,
mule deer? Yeah,
3 or 4 point and up for both. I think that's a good move. That makes sense to me. Now, if we get back into the whole thing where they're giving out tags to control populations, which that's why we hunt, is to control the population, and you want deer removed, then maybe just open it right up like it is right now. But people like a trophy hunt, and people like having trophy zones. And there are trophy zones for moose, even mule deer, where it takes a while to sheep, where it takes a while to get that tag, but you have a good opportunity at a big animal. And so if you do this 4 point and up, you're going to have more big animals. And I think it's a good one. I think that's a good move. And that, I'm just going to go off a little bit before we start the next one. That's why I would be all for baiting deer in Alberta, because there's going to be less small deer shot. When we bait bears, we know what's coming through. We're going to remove that big animal. There's going to be less guys cruising around shooting the first deer they see. That's usually only a 1.5 year old deer, where if you are sitting at a bait, see a bunch of different deer, you can pick and remove the mature one from that herd. But anyways, that's my little thing into that. But yeah, I'm all for the 4 point and up. Let's do her.
Okay, so the next one.
Where are you on that?
I agree. I think so too. Yeah, I think it's good if they're the biologists want to control the population a certain way, and they manipulate the way you can use your tags. That's the way to do it. And right now, there's enough deer that I think here we can afford to take younger deer right now, and gives people here the chance, that maybe can't get out enough to shoot a big buck. They are out there, but they're hard to find in the thick bush, right? So
So for select zones, you would do her.
I think for select zones, it would be a good idea. Yeah. It all depends on the population.
Yeah, for sure.
And it all goes up and down, and everything always changes. But right now, I think Alberta does a very good job of managing our game. I think
they got a tough job, man.
It's a tough job.
This is a big province. There's a lot of land.
Almost, right?
Yeah, you think you can fit multiple states into the size of Alberta.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different critters running around, and it is a tough job. So whatever they decide, all the power to them. But hey, I'm all for harvesting mature animals, and I like the elk 3 point and larger. You set a goal that you're going to get at least 3 points. The 5 point and larger, it's doable for sure, but that's a little more daunting to me.
But then there you go. Then you get your trophy zone, basically, right?
Exactly. Yep. So let the biologists pick a few trophy zones, and let's do her.
Okay, let's hit a different path here. This one is wilderness carry permit for sidearms in Alberta.
Yeah,
or Canada.
All for it, man. I think that, especially with this whole grizzly bear thing, more grizzly bears, more cats around. They just released that there are more cougar tags given out this year than last year because there are more of them. There are more predators, plain and simple. Wolves, cougars, grizzly bears, even black bears around here. It's just absolutely insane. So was that carry permit? Sorry, that was for archery or
just
wilderness
carry, didn't specify.
Okay, so that's basically.
So like if you're hunting, you want to take a firearm, a sidearm with you. Yeah, all the time. Whether you're rifle hunting, archery hunting.
I don't think it's necessary for rifle hunting. I would be all for it. Hey, if I could carry all day long, I would. I am all for concealed carry. And hey, when I'm bear baiting, it would be great to have, a
short
pistol
barrel
on my hip.
for sure.
Yeah, no, it would be awesome. And I'm all for it. Let's do her. Let's open her right up. But I wouldn't want to push my luck too far. If we could get a little, I would say let's carry, if you buy a bow hunting permit, you can carry in bow season.
That's good. I agree with that. That's good.
Yes.
You know what though? The other thing I would argue is mountain hunting backpacking. Because a lot of times your rifle's not accessible quickly. You got to take your pack off, put it down, unstrap.
Yeah.
Probably take the tarp off it, load it.
Whatever,
Whatever,
you don't
right?
you don't have a Badlands pack on though. I can do the old one hand release on mine.
Yeah, that Badlands pack. The one you got ain't gonna hold 10 days.
No, it won't. I'm just bugging you. Yeah, and I was thinking that too. Like when we were elk hunting, I got everything packed away. I don't want to carry my gun all day long or even my bow. So, yeah, it would be nice, man. It would be really nice.
So last year we actually decided on one of the trips to the mountains, we actually decided not to take a gun at all. Because of the
this was your scouting trip?
Scouting trip, yeah, not hunting, obviously, but
what did you have for self-defense?
Bear spray and
Bear
a dog.
spray, yeah.
But we decided not to just because of the sheer hassle. It was an extra 10 pounds that I had to pack. So we got there. Well, we were about to leave the house, and I just had everybody together, and I looked at them. And I said, "What's everybody's vote? Do we take a gun or not?" My vote is no. We don't need it. We got the dog and we got bear spray, and everybody voted no. So we never took it.
Yeah, and
but if we had a nice little handgun, the pistol that I got, even just to strap it on your hip or tuck it in your backpack where you can get at it with one hand, that would be a
man, I got my restricted, and all this bullshit going on with the Liberal government trying to take our guns. I went out and bought myself a handgun because I'm like, man, I got to get this before they really fuck shit up.
Yep.
And I guess what they're doing is they're letting municipalities, I think it is, decide on whether or not you can hold it. But Jason Kenney passed, I don't know if he passed a law or he did something where Alberta, the government of Alberta now has authority on whether or not. So they can't implement that. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, I got one because I thought like, man, I got to have one. You never know what they're going to do. But anyways, that's totally off of this topic or question or whatever. But yeah, let's do her. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think not. It doesn't even have to be. You don't even have to get into specifics like concealed carry or whatever. But wilderness carry, something like that, I think is definitely worth looking at on the politics side of things, just because of safety and.
It makes total sense, and you might know more about this than I do, but outfitters, surveyors, and there's a few other select jobs that they can get a permit to carry. Have you heard of that for an outfitter?
There are jobs that you can get in Alberta. Anybody I've ever talked to said they never knew anybody that ever actually got the permit.
Yeah, so I seen a picture of a guide on a Facebook page, and he's baiting his bear bait, and he had his pistol right on the bait there, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Why is that there?" And he said, "No, I got a permit. I can carry this."
There is a way that outfitters and guides, this is, to my knowledge, this is how it works. An outfitter or a guide can carry a pistol or can get the permit, but the law or the rules are that you can only do it if you're baiting black bears and you're actively baiting, so you're going to your bait site or leaving your bait site with bait, and you do not have a client with you.
Okay, interesting.
Which in my case is when you don't have a client with you, that's, a third of your day maybe, or half of your day. The other half you have a client with you. Maybe if you're just dropping guys off or if you're just filling baits, then that's definitely a good time to have one.
And that makes sense to me. Like, I'm all for less regulation when it comes to this stuff. But that does make sense. Like, if you have a client with you, he's going to have a weapon with him.
Yeah, you got two guys.
Exactly. Like, shit happens. I've heard stories where...
Well, you got to worry about the freaking client too sometimes.
Well, yeah. So it always helps to have it. But, hey, that makes sense where an outfitter can carry it to fill the baits without the client there. At least they're letting them carry it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. But I still, like you said, you've seen that one picture. I don't know anybody that's ever got it.
Yeah, I seen it a couple of years ago, and I thought that is cool.
And any of the
I'm
outfitters
happy.
I've ever worked for, they don't know anybody that's ever gone.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, here or the Yukon.
Yeah, wow. Okay, what do we got? What's the next one? You have a favorite on there?
I think we just...
Let's do one more. We'll wrap her up.
Okay,
I think we're at
here's one more.
45
This one
minutes.
might be a little...
Pick your favorite, or your third or fourth favorite.
Yeah.
I guess fifth favorite.
There's a few on here about wolves. They must not be talking about Alberta.
Yeah, man, wolves are a big issue in the States.
Yeah, like
Again,
wolf season
it's
open all year round, no tag needed. Same for wolves as for coyotes, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, here, as long as you hold a hunting license, which, as long as you buy a new one after March 31st, you hold another hunting license, you can shoot a wolf any time of year.
Yes. So is it all time? I thought it was as long as there's a big game season.
Oh yeah, sorry. There is, as long as there's a big game season open.
Yes.
Yeah. So the only time you can't basically is summer.
Okay.
Correct.
I believe so.
Because bears open come April,
Mm-hmm.
and then your summertime, and then your big game opens August.
Yeah, and you have late
August.
season draws as well and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And trapping season. Trapping season goes till the end of March.
Yeah, and yeah, again, that's like that was probably an American guy that commented on that, and man, they've got a battle down there.
I cannot believe the struggle in some places just to be able to kill wolves.
Yeah, well, and we are having that issue now with grizzly bears. Like we were just talking about it right now.
Yep.
You know, where you have a growing population and
An exploding population.
even in a lot of places, and the ungulates are taking a big hit.
And so are the farmers now, and the locals, the cattle.
Yeah.
That's all going to start. You're going to see it everywhere in the next couple of years.
Yeah. And
especially
you know what?
Around here.
It's costing everyone money.
Oh, for sure.
Right? You got insurance on that. You got fish and wildlife officers who got to go and see what's going on, spend half their day there.
Or trap them and try and relocate them just to re-trap them again in a couple weeks or months.
Yeah, so rather than selling tags, building an industry, you are paying. It's costing you money.
Yeah, there's a good idea, right? Sell some tags.
Yeah.
Allocate an area with a certain good population you need to put control on. You give a lottery tag of some kind. People from wherever can come here, spend their money locally, and then all their money on their tags goes back to conservation.
Yeah.
And the population gets in control. And then you make
So
money because
simple.
they got to get the hide tag.
It's so simple. Well, everyone, right? So you think you got your guide and outfitter, they got a hotel maybe, they got to fly up here, they got meals, they got fuel. You know, it would be nothing for a guy to spend $10,000 coming up on a wolf hunt.
Plus, you know, a moose tag is like $400 for a non-resident, like a non-resident.
So that's the price of the tag, and then they've got their
plus the hunting license and everything else. It's almost like $700 Canadian for a guy to come up here moose hunting just for the tags.
For the tag, yeah.
So
and then so what's a moose hunt going for? What's an average like?
For
just an average
an average outfitted moose hunt up here for rut season is like $7,000.
Okay, so you say $7,000. That's his hunt. US. Okay, so you're at 10,000 Canadian, right around there.
Pretty close.
And then they got their tag, so they're at 11 right there. They got their plane, they got their fuel. They're probably close to 15,000. And then if they get something mounted, you know, they'll there's a chance they'd be pushing 20,000 if they get a mount done, if they, you know, whatever. By the time they export it down, so that's
toys they bought to come up here.
Yeah, so that's 20,000 taxable dollars for one moose hunt.
Yep.
Right? So there's big money being made there, you know, a lot of tax money. So, you know, it only makes sense to open it up for
and the outfitter,
these
all
predators.
his supplies, chances are he's buying them locally.
Oh, without a doubt.
Tags are being bought locally at a gas station or a convenience store.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff. It all just brings revenue into the province and the town.
It's a huge industry, and we're lucky in Alberta because they do recognize it.
Yeah.
It's not. Have you been to the Edmonton airport?
Yeah.
The international
times,
side.
yeah.
Do they still have those big deer, whitetails? I think they are.
I don't remember if I've ever seen them, honestly. I've been there
Yeah,
several times.
you
I don't
arrive
think I've ever seen
I'm
them.
pretty sure it's this Edmonton area. You arrive internationally in the Edmonton airport, and they've got like 2 or 3 giant white-tailed deer.
They're mounted?
No, they are mounted. Sorry. They're like a sculpture.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember seeing them.
So that tells you right there that they recognize that they've got hunters coming in. My brother, actually, Braden, he was on the podcast. He worked security at the airport for a while there. And he says, yeah, hunting season, man. Like, hunters are going to make up about 5% of the people coming and going.
I believe it.
And he said Americans are showing up with ducks filled, their coolers filled with ducks or geese or whatever, right? Bear hides going back. And it's a big industry. There's a lot of money to be made, and Alberta recognizes that. So, you know, it would be something if they open up this grizzly bear hunt, and it will, you know, there's a big industry there for outfitters too, because you can't hunt them in BC now. And if they open that up in Alberta, you know, things are going to, it'll be good.
And it's just going to help with the control of the population.
Yeah. So we're hoping
I think we're going to be seeing quite a few problems here in the next couple of years, especially right here.
Yes. Well, we're doing the editing for our show right now. And the bear episode I'm working on, we sort of talk about the start of the episode, what happens if you don't control these predators and how they come into towns. And this year in Slave Lake, they've had more calls for bear in town than ever before. So I reached out to a few people. They sent me videos of these bears walking on their fences, walking in their driveways, and we're incorporating that into the episode. And that's a prime example, right? And I asked Fish and Wildlife, I said, why are there so many bears in town this year? And I think I mentioned this on one of the last podcasts. I feel like a broken record here, but he said there's not enough people hunting black bears.
Yeah, well, that sentence needs to be repeated.
Yeah. And so, and I tell guys, like, when they come into the shop with a deer and we start talking about bears, I tell them, I'm like, yeah, if you have a chance at a bear, you got to take it, because there are a lot of bears. And the only thing killing bears is other bears. So if we have a chance, if you have a chance with a mature bear, take it, because, you know, someone's got to do it.
I think it's intimidating for a lot of people. I think shooting a bear and having to skin it, or even just interacting with a bear, might be intimidating to a lot of people that aren't used to it.
Yes.
I think that might keep people away, but it's such an easy, you know, first animal, especially if you're getting into it. And if you're an advanced, experienced hunter and you just never really dove into bear hunting, you see them around. Chances are, if you're from around here, you see them around. Just take one. The meat's great.
Yes.
The hide's beautiful.
And that's, you know, a lot of guys that I talk to, they're like, I'm not shooting a bear again unless it's an absolute giant, because I've already shot 3 or 4. And you know what? They do have a point there, because the thing with Alberta is you have to keep the hide. Mm-hmm. It's great for business, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, I've got 3 bear rugs now. What am I going to do with another?
That's the issue you run into, yeah. Right? Because you got to keep the hide. Now, with that being said, you can give the hide away. So if you have a taxidermist who needs hides like us or whatever, you can give that hide away. So that's fine there, but you got to do something with the hide. You can't discard of it. And that's where people sort of get caught up on shooting a bear every year because they don't want it to go to waste. And hey, that's totally fine. That's a good view to have. You don't want to kill an animal for it to go to waste. But like you said, they have great meat. They're good eating. So you know what, if you want to have some pepperoni, some roasts or whatever, you don't have to keep all the bear, but you can take all the quarters or whatever you want. And yeah, it's a good reason to try and control that population somewhat by taking, you know, one every couple of years. Even we make it a priority every spring. I love bear hunting.
Well, it's just so much fun. Like I bear hunted more this year than I have in the last 3, and I never had any intention of shooting one that was ever in front of me this year.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I packed a gun and I was waiting for a big blondie or something, but I saw 1 million bears this year and I just loved every single minute of it.
Yeah.
I loved everyone that ran away from me, and it's just so much fun.
And so that's sort of the issue though, right? Because there's so many bears. We see so many bears and we love it, but it's also an issue.
Well, you can't just go crack down two young bears like right
No, not at all. No, well, that's same as the deer, right?
Yeah,
like you gotta take a mature animal. But we love seeing a lot of bears and it's awesome. But when they're moving into town, no one likes that. When they start encroaching on your house,
Well, I like it. Nobody's gotten hurt, so right now I like it. It makes me giggle.
It's
and
amusing.
It's funny, but,
yeah, it's amusing to me. We've had them.
It's good for people to sort of realize that you're still living in northern Alberta, and yeah, you can get eaten in your backyard.
Without a doubt, we're in bear country. It is what it is. Like this Swan Hills region, Slave Lake, north of here, people travel from all over the place to bear hunt around here because it is such good bear hunting. But no, guys, if you buy a bear tag, get out in the springtime, cover some ground, and try and get one down. And hey, if you do, send us some photos. We love sharing them with people. And it's something I love to do. It's something I know Eric loves to do. All of us in Non-Typical Nation, we usually put together a couple bear episodes each year.
And there's plenty of ways to do it. You can bait, you can spot and stalk, you can glass them up, you can just hunt bears.
Yeah, and it's all a ton of fun, whatever you're doing. Baiting, it's probably the least exciting because you have a lot of downtime sitting in a tree.
Well, it depends. I had lots of busy times.
Yeah, there's a lot of busy times. Like when things get rocking, they get going good. That is the
best way to interact and just watch the bears. Is definitely over a bait pile.
Yes, and that's we had like 10 hours of bear footage, so we put it in 3 episodes on this next season, and you guys will get to see that. It was super exciting. We had some incredible encounters.
Yeah, we actually have too much bear footage.
Yeah,
too much bear footage.
We were just talking about that, how we're gonna condense it, so we can get it down to these 22-minute videos. And it's super cool. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna get into some things here, guys. Pay some bills. Today's podcast is brought to you by Antler Obsession, the only big game attractant and supplement designed specifically for elk, moose, and deer living in a northern climate. Go to nontypical.org. That's our webpage. Go to the store and use promo code podcast for 10% off everything, including Antler Obsession, supplement, and attractant. And one more, guys, kickstart your day with smoked coffee. That's right, smoked coffee. Ola Smokes Coffee is revolutionizing the coffee industry with smoked coffee beans. My personal favorite is Blazing Apple and Sippin' Whiskey. Order yours at oldsmokescoffee.com. Use promo code NONTYPICAL for 10% off. So where are we at, Eric? Are we doing another question or are we wrapping her up? We're at an hour.
It's up to you. You want another one?
Yeah, let's do one more. Let's have some fun. One more, and then we'll wrap her up for everyone. This is going to be an exciting one. This is going to be fun. Okay, so hold on here. Boy,
a little controversial. I was wondering if I should share this one or not.
I'm nervous. I'm sweating.
Yeah. So this is worded differently a few different times, but here's the nicest one. So, no special privileges. No special privileges, and everybody has... Oh, sorry, I lost it. Hang on, bear with me. Everybody has one law for all residents of the province. So there's actually 2 different sides of this. One guy says one law for every hunter in the province, like all the same law. And one says no special privileges or register the animal and one animal per family. So we're obviously talking about First Nation harvest.
Well, that doesn't make sense, one animal per family, because I can go out and shoot a deer, an elk, a moose, and a bear.
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with the one animal. Oh, sorry, this says one animal per species per family per year.
Per family, but even per family, like I can go out, Amy can go out, my whole family can get one deer.
Yeah.
One elk. And you know what? We'll eat. We would, if we had an elk and a moose, we would probably finish it in a year. Now we wouldn't go and shoot 3 moose because, well, next year there's not going to be as many moose there, more than likely.
And 3 moose is not that'll last you longer than a year.
Yeah, that's just it, right? Yeah, this is a tough one to dive into. I do somewhat think everyone should play by the same rule book, but there are people who have been here much longer than us, and they've got their land, their sacred land, and they've been doing things there for a while, the way they've been doing them. And we gave them that land to continue doing things the way they're doing them. So let them do things the way they're doing them on their land. Let's go for it. Let them control their little country, their what they got going on there. I let them do their thing. Now,
so there's certain things.
This was the wrong one to dive into it. Let's keep going. But what do you mean?
It's so they're allowed to do things like spotlight at night.
But traditionally they hunted under moonlight, right?
Yeah, but
with bows and arrows.
Is moonlight a 1200 lumens or whatever on a spotlight?
Yeah, I actually looked in. So when we started Non-Typical Nation 3 years ago, we started by actually writing articles and looking into news things. And one of the ones that I had done was spotlighting.
Okay.
And hunting under moonlight. And there are some provinces where it has to be hunting under moonlight. I think I was going to say, I think it's Manitoba, but it might not be. I'm probably wrong. I know anyone from Manitoba is probably going to scream at me telling me I'm wrong, but there is provinces that it must be under moonlight. I'm sure I remember that. And that makes sense. Now, if you've got $2,000 lights on your $50,000 lifted truck, lit right up like a Christmas tree, hitting back roads that most guys can't get down because you've got a big jacked up truck. Now we're getting into the weeds here of things that aren't ethical and aren't the way they were traditionally done.
Almost, it's kind of the wrong words, but abuse of power, right? So
yes.
Like overuse of your...
Yeah, but with that being said, I should say that doesn't happen that often. Most people, 99% of First Nations people and whatnot that I know, they are 100% ethical. They're lucky if they get a moose every couple of years. Some of them are better than others. Some of them get a moose each year. And you know what? That feeds their family. That feeds their parents. That feeds their grandparents. And, some of them are the most ethical people I know. Most of them are good.
For sure.
But like even licensed hunters, there's always a few bad apples that ruin things and give people a bad image.
Definitely ruin the name for certain people.
And that's the issue we're all having. There's licensed hunters that are fighting with other licensed hunters because people are cheating and this and that. And I think that's probably why this question was brought up, is because someone heard a story of a First Nation person that, pushed the bar a little too far. But I'm going to say that's not most people. I know for a fact that's not most people.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. It's definitely not most people. And it's, when it comes to harvesting for your family, as long as you're taking the meat and you're not just, any white guy, whatever, yellow guy, brown guy, whatever you want to be, can go out and shoot an animal illegally.
Yeah.
So because the natives and the Métis have the harvest rights here in Alberta, as long as they're doing it right and they're harvesting the animal, then I have no problem with it.
Yeah. So like I said, usually there's a few bad apples that just give people a bad image, that sort of mess things up for a group. I don't think all of them should suffer because of people who push the bar too much. So let it be. Leave it the way it is.
So what about registering each harvested animal, or at least calling it in?
So Alberta actually just implemented this year, you have to do your harvest reports if you kill an animal with a draw tag, or you can't draw a tag next year until you do it, and you get fined. Yep. Did you know that?
I did. Yep.
You did. Okay. Just making sure you did that.
No, that's a good one. And
so
also tied in with that, you have to purchase your hunting license before you can enter your draw next year. You have to own a hunting license before you can put in for draws next summer.
If you don't do your...
Everybody.
Okay.
So this is to stop people.
Okay, so I have to purchase my wildlife certificate.
Yep, your wildlife
Yeah.
certificate.
So I've purchased my wildlife certificate before I can draw.
But you do every year anyway because you have bears.
Exactly.
But
so the reason why they implemented that is because you have non-hunters who are putting in for these draws,
drawing them, pocketing the tag.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yes. So yeah, registering your harvests, I am 100% full that we want to give these biologists, the people who are putting the tags on the line for hunters, we want to give them as much information as we can so we know what's being harvested. I had a biologist in here this summer and he said moose numbers were way down. But now I've seen more moose than I ever have. I got a moose. So, we got to get more information to these biologists. Everyone should be putting in their harvest reports. I don't care where you are, even, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, Ontario, put them in. Let's give the biologists as much information as they have so they can give out the appropriate number of tags. And so what we're doing makes a difference.
Yeah. And it takes 5 minutes. Like you just go, at least for here, you go on Alberta round one.
Is there a deadline?
Well, I don't know if there's a deadline for the residents. I know my outfitter one has a deadline.
Okay.
I get fined and I can lose my allocations if I don't do it.
If you don't do it.
Yeah. That's for my outfitting allocations.
Yes.
But yeah, that's been implemented for a few years. Could be several, could have been always. But as long as I've been a part of it, it's been implemented. So
yeah, and I guess some guys say it's a pain in the ass. You got to go online, you got to put in your win card, you got to do this, do that. It only takes 5 minutes, but it's a pain in the ass. Alberta Realm does have an app now, but you can't do it in the app. But you can. There's a link, and it links you to the webpage. So yeah, guys, make sure you do that. This is we're in January, and get her done because we want to give these guys as much info as we can.
Yeah. So going back to the First Nations harvesting, that's the only problem I have with the system right now. Is that there's absolutely no way right now for Fish and Wildlife, the biologists, and just the wildlife side of Alberta to know what has been harvested by First Nations MAT in a year.
Yeah, that makes sense. We don't know what's being harvested. I'm all for that.
Because at least with the draw system before this year, where before they implemented the harvest reports, at least they knew how many draw tags were given out for each zone. Mm-hmm. So there's a potential number. That they know max moose killed, know, and they kind of know the average percentage. But when it comes to First Nations and Métis, they have no idea how many were taken each year, from where, when.
Yes, and now with this rise in predators too, wolves, bears, cougars, we don't know what they're killing. So if we can at least get all of our numbers together and, do an estimate for what they're killing, we're that much closer to knowing how many of what animals are in an area, and so we're taking out the appropriate numbers, and then we won't have an imbalance.
It's just that much more information for the biologist. That much more we're doing for the conservation.
Yeah, that was a touchy one, man. I
was a little worried about that. I was wondering kind of all the way through.
We're on the same I've got page, so many really good friends who are native or whatever, and every single one of them is super ethical. They've taught me a lot. They know the bush. They know what they're doing more than I ever will. And a lot of things wouldn't happen if it wasn't for them. John is a prime example, man. That guy, he is something else. He's a great guy. He's done a ton for us and super ethical. Like I said, he tries and tries. He didn't get a deer this year. And he's a really good guy, but, so I don't know, I would say leave them at what they're at. You could maybe try and get people to input what they're harvesting. I think it would help, but the whole reason why we gave them 100% harvesting rights is so they could do it their way.
That's right.
And, hey, you know what? I think things are doing all right. I don't think things are going too bad. Like we've been around here, things have been going.
Somebody that's going to break the law is going to break the law, no matter what color they are, who they are. It doesn't matter. So, I think it works the way it is. People are happy.
Yeah, you bet. And some areas and places might be different. Like we only know what's going on around here, really. So there might be issues in other places. And there's guys. We were actually Amy. She went in the hills there with her dad north of here, and Fish and Wildlife were there early in the morning when they just got there, and I guess there were guys spotlighting. So people are doing it, right? And it's a licensed hunter more than likely. And usually there's more of them that are doing it because, well, they have a short window of time to kill an animal, and people are gonna cheat, and you're gonna have that. But you know what? You don't let a few bad apples spoil everything for every one of us. And I think you got to punish those people. Do what you got to do, but let's not give them any more attention than I think that deserves, because we don't want to start. There's a lot of negativity on Facebook and social media around hunting and stuff. And if now we start broadcasting these people doing illegal things, it's making us look worse.
Well, that's the thing. We always get lumped in. Hunters always get lumped in with poachers, right?
Yeah. So
poachers and hunters, it's just like law-abiding gun citizens and the guy that robs the 7-Eleven with the handgun, right? Like,
so I try and give that no attention at all.
No, you can't. You can't group it all up.
Keep it in the courts.
That's right.
Cool, man. Well, let's wrap her up. This was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this. And hey, anybody listening, if you have any comments on this podcast, send us a message through our Facebook page. We'd love to hear your comments and some of the questions that were asked. And hey, if you have a cool topic or something that we should talk about on a future podcast, send us a message. And I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think if we keep these posts rolling, they're going to be a good topic for the podcast. And it's only going to get better. Yeah,
without a doubt. And we appreciate you guys listening. We really do. We're early on in this, and we're going to be releasing one every 7 to 10 days for sure. So keep following along. Be sure to subscribe, because that is extremely important that you subscribe. So we have those numbers so we can gauge how many people are listening. And so we can keep doing this.
And share it around, because we're associated with a ton of growing small businesses right now, and we have a ton of deals, promotions. We're hooked into a lot of great products.
Yeah, 100% share with your friends. And I think even on our webpage, we've got a page designated just for discounts. There's a few companies that we're working with that will offer discounts to our listeners. So check that out. And let's wrap her up, Eric. I'm going to give her to you, man.
Okay. This podcast is brought to you by Primal Adventures Outfitting and Guide Services. We're the next generation of professional guiding and outfitting with full-service Alberta moose hunts and Alberta winter wolf hunts. If you or somebody you know is looking for a quality moose or wolf hunt, you know a guy. Let Primal Adventures lead you to your next trophy animal and your next unforgettable adventure. Make it a Primal Adventure.